Seeing the film in which Chris Hemsworth portrays me was pretty surreal.
I was in that garage, and it going through my gear as I knew I was preparing for war. It's just kind of brought me to tears in a sense, because now I'm watching myself back at that time frame, 16 years later.
I'm Mark Nooch. In 2001, I was the ODA 595 Special Forces Detachment Commander that led our mission post 9/11 into northern Afghanistan.
I'm Bob Pennington. I was the Assistant Detachment Commander at the time of the campaign. I retired as a CW4 with over 30 years of service.
I like to tell stories about people who make a difference, and these 12 men, along with their comrades in the Special Forces, made an enormous difference.
Hey, Mark.
Jerry Bruckheimer and also Black Label Media has stuck with this story from the very beginning to try to take this story to the screen, because it is a different kind of story of two different cultures coming together in common cause.
You know, you have the sky, but wars are won in the dirt.
I think both Doug Stanton in telling this story in his book, and then of course the screenwriters, Ted Talley and Peter Craig did an amazing job of really, in the screenplay, combining a military film with a Western.
However I first came upon the book, I was mesmerized by it. I was very struck by the courage and ingenuity of the American soldiers and of their Afghan allies. These are real men, and they're still alive. So I thought it was very important to respect each character.
I was fascinated by it and the fact that it was a true story. I spoke to a few of the real guys and took a lot from all of them.
We'll be in this fight, boys, you mark my words.
The story itself, I think, is a great one on many different levels. First of all, it's a great testimony to the work done by all of my Special Forces detachments who were deployed in those early days.
We knew that the movie rights had been purchased for the book, Horse Soldiers.
This is when we were actually laughing about things and talking amongst each other. Well, who's going to play me? And guys would look at themselves and go, well, I want so-and-so to play me.
I got a chance to meet with the fella that I was playing. I was very fortunate to get that opportunity. Not everybody did. And he was very sweet, generous, kind, easy to talk to. He was very upfront about everything. I think if you're going to tell a story like this, it's really your responsibility to tell it accurately. So it helped to get his point of view.
I'm not doing this alone. All right, let's go.
Michael Shannon was great to talk to on the set. He asked me quite a few questions about how I interacted with the team and the team dynamics as a whole.
Might not be such a good idea. About to find out.
I am truly glad that he was the guy that portrayed me. His actions at certain parts actually mirrored mine. Watching Michael Shannon do this scene, trying to get off the horse and asking for the medic to actually help him get off the horse, that's exactly what I did. And that portrayal was absolutely perfect. I actually began to laugh when I saw that piece.
Well, the best thing about calling in airstrikes, you do it laying down, right? That's right. Let's get this war started.
The Army Special Forces go behind enemy lines, build rapport with indigenous forces, and help them become more capable fighting elements in order to achieve an objective both the United States and that force shares, in this case, the overthrow of the Taliban regime.
Special Forces Operational Detachment Alpha are trained for unconventional warfare. We are able to adapt in situations for long periods of time. You need smart guys that are in good shape, that have a lot of endurance, and are able to be on their own for months or possibly years at a time in a country training indigenous forces.
They're kind of geniuses when it comes to going into a terrain that's unknown and knowing where to go and where you can get cover from, and you think wow, these guys I know why they're elite soldiers.
They also had the ability to sit down with a group of men from another culture, build a bond of trust, and then with that bond, be able to go conduct very dangerous missions under extraordinarily dangerous circumstances.
The Special Forces guys embed themselves within a community and work over weeks or months or years to assist, rebuild within the communities, working with, in this instance, with tribes that had century-old blood feuds.
What I liked about the film is every one of those guys looked like a Special Forces Green Beret. They did. And they played the part perfectly like they should have. They all had their little cells, they all broke down, and each guy during that time, especially in the fights, actually thought out what they were to do next. And I thought that portrayed us perfectly.
All right, you're training your firearms. Make sure you put your bolts forward on your rifle. Keep them pointed in a safe direction at all times. Watch your muzzles at all times.
Our actors needed to experience firsthand what being a part of a Special Forces team was really all about.
Weapons up!
In order to accurately recreate this sort of strategies employed by these types of soldiers in the field.
Boot camp was amazing, man, in the sense that it was really just throwing all of us together in this kind of immediate thing where you have to, you know, get dirty and shoot guns and all these things.
We had, I think, 3 weeks of military class where it was, you know, as it sounds, we were in a room with a blackboard and a piece of chalk, you know, listening to the experts kind of tell us about the Special Forces, and then doing the weapons training and the physical training, the movement drills, help cement us as a unit.
In an actual military unit, that's the most important thing, is trusting the guy next to you, because that guy's, you know, life is in your hands and your life is in his hands, so you have to trust them as much as you trust themselves. So we really want our actors to start to have that feel.
Is that part of a drill?
Ain't no drill.
I think our country was in shock right after 9/11. I think the American public was worried, was apprehensive, and these 12 men went in there to unknown odds and fraught with danger to try to settle the score and have a victory for us.
Everybody has that memory, that moment where they were, what happened.
You taking me to school again?
And picking you up.
Daddy.
So you, like, as a family, you are like totally shocked with fear.
For me, I was actually home on September 11th, as portrayed in the film, with my wife that was a high-risk pregnancy, 7 months pregnant. We had 2 little boys that began to ask questions when they're 3 and 4 years old, because they saw what was on the news.
I was shocked for a second, and then I'm going to war. We're going to war. It's going to happen. And they're going to call the Green Berets. Absolutely.
Within a very short period of time, I was getting a phone call from our command informing me that I was going to be put back on that team. So we knew Special Forces was going to play some role.
But we'd actually requested Mark come back to the team, which that was a little bit of a fight, but we said, hey, he's been on the team for 2 years. Why would you give me somebody else? He already knows the team. I don't have to sit here and second guess someone. So luckily for us, he was, because he rode the horses.
All those teams conduct what we call a brief back, where the entire team presents to leadership the fullness of their appreciation of the mission, the challenges required, the risks that should and should not be accepted, and their ability to accomplish that mission to a degree that's either satisfactory to the leadership and ultimately to the commander or not. So Mark's team displayed all of those characteristics.
Our team was honored to be one of the first picked for such a mission. It was not lost on us the historical significance of what we were being asked to do, and to a man volunteered for this mission.
They were wanting to sign up and enlist. They were wanting to get back in duty and be a part of the response. To make the country safer.
First and foremost, that was not given to us as a task, but internally for our team was every guy on this team's coming home.
Right.
We may not come home with all fingers and toes or alive, but we are going to recover our teammates and everyone will come home. Our mission statement was to conduct unconventional warfare in support of General Abdul Rashid Dostum and render our geographical area free and clear of terrorist and Taliban activity. A typical Special Forces planning phase by Army doctrine is 96 hours, 5 days. Our team's planning phase was 48 hours. Our commander at the time, Colonel John Mulholland, trusted us to sort it out and report what could be done and what the circumstances and situation was on the ground with the Afghan allies, with the local population, and with the enemy, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces.
And we were hoping to do this before the winter sets in, because once the winter set in and the bad weather came in, then it would be difficult to get supplies, difficult to maneuver. It would put a strain on all of us. We would literally be fighting for a year.
It's us, we're going in. You beat out the 5 other teams. We're gonna drop in behind enemy lines, link up with the warlord of the Northern Alliance, General Abdul Dostum.
Task Force Dagger was the first step in America's fight against the Taliban in Afghanistan right after 9/11. The small Special Forces team was to link up with a local warlord. His name is General Rasid Dostum, who was the leader of the Northern Alliance.
We knew nothing of Dostum. The intel that we got, he suffered from diabetes, he had a bad leg, he walked with a gimp, he was old, decrepit. Of course, the intel was totally wrong, and he was nothing like that at all. But again, ground truth tells everything.
He rode up to us the first morning we saw him. He rode his horse at a gallop, and I think while the horse was still moving, he swung down and strode up to us and shook our hand and was so excited that we were there.
He led us over to a little plateau, whipped out his map. This is what I want to do.
Dostum is such a strong natural leader who commanded respect and fear wherever he went. And with Navid Negahban playing his part, I don't think I could have found a better actor for the role. Navid simply delivers every line with such weight.
To our new American friends, I hope they don't think they win copying the Russians. I told you didn't speak English. I didn't speak to the man who told you I thought.
He really did his homework. I mean, I've never met anybody who did so much research and was so outreaching to all the players of that region.
Mark and Bob was very helpful, and I was able to see Dostum through their eyes. One of the reasons that Dostum's men, they follow him is because Dostum is the first person who moves forward. He doesn't ask his men to go first. He's the first person on the line. He's going in, and at the same time, he's very generous to them. Mark was telling me they gave him some money when he was there for a mission. And one of the first things that he did, he walked out and he handed the money that was given to him to his riders, to his soldiers. It's very complicated. Without him, I don't think that the American soldiers would have been able to achieve their goal.
The one thing that stood out for me was they all had such a great respect for the Afghan people and the brotherhood they formed with the Northern Alliance guys that were fighting alongside.
The Afghan factions that we came to know as our allies and friends and part of our brotherhood from 2001, we're still in touch with them. Absolutely. 16 years later. They are still working hard to work together and cooperate to rebuild their country. They are still fighting. That's bravery.
When I get into that city, I will raise your flag.
It's your city, General. You raise your own flag.
Whatever.